The night on the Khamar-Daban range is a profound and unsettling darkness, an abyss of cold that seems to swallow sound itself. Imagine the wind, a razor-sharp current slicing through the Siberian taiga, carrying with it the scent of pine and frozen earth. It is a presence, not just a weather pattern, a constant whisper that tells tales of isolation and survival. In this immense, unforgiving wilderness, the stars are not friendly jewels, but distant, indifferent points of ice. Down below, the trees stand as a black jagged line against the horizon, their branches heavy with snow, forming a labyrinth from which there might be no escape. This is a real place, a spine of mountains south of the Great Lake Baikal, and it is the keeper of a mystery as chilling and persistent as its winter winds. This is not a ghost story told around a campfire for a fleeting thrill. It is a true event, a documented tragedy that has stubbornly resisted simple explanation for decades. The incident at Khamar-Daban in August 1993 echoes with the same eerie dissonance as the more famous Dyatlov Pass case, presenting a puzzle where the pieces refuse to fit. The Khamar-Daban range is a formidable stretch of the Earth's crust, an ancient weathered chain of mountains along the southeastern shore of Lake Baikal. Not dramatic jagged peaks like the Himalayas, but high rolling plateaus and rounded summits called galettes. Exposed tops often barren, scoured by relentless winds that keep forests from taking root. Rock, lichen, hardy alpine tundra. Below, the slopes are cloaked in dense, almost impenetrable taiga, cedar, fir, pine. A sea of trees that can disorient even the most experienced navigator. The transition is abrupt. It can feel like stepping into another world, a land of extreme contrasts and sudden changes. In the brief summer, valleys flourish while the peaks stay cool and aloof. The weather is notoriously fickle, clear morning to thick fog by afternoon to drenching, ice-cold rain. In winter, the range is entombed in deep snow. Temperatures plummet to deadly lows. Avalanches are a constant threat, their paths carved into the hillsides. The ground is a treacherous mix, solid rock, boggy marshland, permafrost. Every step is a calculated risk. It demands respect and careful planning. For days you might not see another soul. Your world shrinks to the trail and your companions. The silence is profound, broken only by the wind, a distant bird, a rustle in the brush. Help is not a call away. It is hundreds of kilometers and many days of hard travel. Large predators roam. Encounters are rare, but their presence is felt. In the summer of 1993, a group of 7 experienced hikers from Petropavlovsk, Kazakhstan set out through Khamar-Daban. Led by Lyudmila Korovina, 41, a hiking master, Tatiana Filipenko, 24, Alexander Sasha Krisin, 23, Denis Shvachkin, 19, Victoria Zalesova, 16, Timur Bapanov, 15, Valentina Valya Utochenko, 17. A Category 4 trek, high difficulty, technical skill, top conditioning. Well-equipped, they began in early August. For days, everything went to plan. On August 4th, trekking an exposed ridge near Mount Tritrans, a powerful cyclone swept in from the south. Torrential freezing rain, wet snow, gale-force winds. Caught in the open, they pitched a single tent and huddled for warmth. What happened next is pieced from the survivors' testimony and later evidence. The next morning, the storm raged. The group, cold, wet, exhausted. At 10, Lyudmila chose to descend, tree line 3 to 4 kilometers away. A desperate gamble. As they prepared to leave, tragedy began. It started with Timur suddenly falling ill. Lyudmila began acting strangely. Krisin says she bled from her eyes and ears. Then she thrashed, banging her head on the rocks. One by one, the others were struck by the same madness. They screamed. They tore at their clothes. They convulsed. Panicked, Sasha Krisin, unaffected, tried to restrain them but could not. Fearing for his life, he grabbed part of the tent for shelter and fled, leaving his friends behind in violent, inexplicable fits. What could make seasoned trekkers abandon shelter in the dead of night? What terror drives people to doom in the freezing wilderness? The story begins with the noble ambition of a summit, and ends in chaos, confusion, and a silence heavier than stone. Facts are like footprints, clear for a moment before the elements obscure them, leaving maybes and what-ifs. Alexander Creson's escape began a desperate fight for survival. Alone, terrified, with little more than the clothes on his back and a scrap of tent for shelter, he scrambled down, away from screams and convulsions. No map, no food, no proper shelter. He aimed for the trees, hoping they'd blunt the storm's bite. For days he wandered, following thin streams downhill. He ate berries and whatever he could find, growing weaker. The image of bleeding eyes, violent spasms, incomprehensible madness. What had happened? On August 10th, he found empty geological huts, brief respite. He reached a river. On August 18th, Ukrainian tourists found him. They fed him, sheltered him, and took him to town. His tale sparked a massive search and deeper mystery. A discovery in the mist. Following Creson's report, a rescue operation launched, immediately hampered by brutal weather. Helicopters grounded in fog and rain, teams advanced on foot. Khamar-Daban's enormity made pinpointing the site monumental. For days, they combed highlands and conifer slopes. On August 26th, nearly 3 weeks later, they found the bodies. Korovina and Tatiana lay near the emergency camp. Dennis and Victoria huddled together. Timur and Valentina a short distance away. Many wore tracksuits and t-shirts, some without shoes. The tent torn, belongings scattered. This points to paradoxical undressing. Severe hypothermia can make victims feel hot and shed layers. No sign of outside attackers or large predators. Autopsies listed hypothermia. Many found that incomplete. How to explain the convulsions, the bleeding, the madness? The physical state of the bodies hinted at a more complex and violent ordeal. Reports noted protein deficiency, prolonged starvation, and extreme stress. The lungs were damaged, consistent with extreme cold, barotrauma, or certain toxins. Anecdotal reports, outside official records, spoke of extensive bruising, even on torsos and internal organs, as if subjected to an immense, crushing force. Some claimed the hikers' hearts were ruptured, an injury tied to extreme trauma, not hypothermia. Creson described Lyudmila bleeding from eyes and ears, potential signs of blood pressure spikes or acoustic trauma. Taken together, these reports form the enigma at the case's core, challenging simple natural cause explanations. The most straightforward explanation is extreme weather and its physiological effects. An exceptionally severe cyclone, cold rain, wet snow, wet clothing loses insulation, leaching heat at an alarming rate. On a windy ridge, heat loss skyrockets. Hypothermia degrades cognition, leading to confusion and disorientation. Shivering, spasms, delirium, extreme manifestations can look like madness. Paradoxical undressing could explain their thin clothing at discovery. Another proposal is infrasound, low-frequency waves from wind over terrain, avalanches, or seismic tremors. At high intensities, it can induce unease, anxiety, disorientation, possibly nausea and pressure changes. A localized infrasound field could have panicked the group amid the cyclone. Contaminated water or toxic plants? Certain neurotoxins cause convulsions and hallucinations. Yet it's unlikely an experienced, cohesive group all ingested the same poison while Creson remained unaffected. Beyond natural forces lies the possibility of human involvement. 2 paths. An internal breakdown. Panic. Hypothermia-induced delirium. A fight that spiraled. Yet they were cohesive, led by a trusted master. An outside attack? The taiga isn't empty. Hunters, poachers, even escapees passed through. Conceivable, but evidence was lacking. No tracks beyond the hikers, no firefight, valuables left. More speculative, a clandestine military test, chemical, biological, or sonic. An environmental attack. Wrong place, wrong time. Proponents cite remoteness. Skeptics point to zero declassified proof. Ultimately, the human element theory suffers from a critical lack of evidence. When conventional explanations fail, minds drift toward the exotic. Could ball lightning or an unusual electrical discharge have struck the camp? Provocative, but the specific internal injuries don't align with known lightning effects. Toxic exposure or radiation? A test, a crashed satellite RTG, or natural gas release. Such agents could cause convulsions and bleeding, yet radiation checks were negative. Local Buryat traditions hold these mountains sacred. While outside forensic scope, they speak to the land's inherent peril. These unknown force theories are compelling, but without a smoking gun, satellite parts, confirmed nerve agent, recorded infrasound, they remain conjecture, ghost stories for a scientific age. The story does not end with a neat conclusion, it fades into a persistent, chilling echo. Decades have passed, time has not eroded the mystery. The official epitaph, hypothermia, papers over cracks in our understanding. Why bleeding from the eyes? What caused violent collective convulsions? What crushing force bruised organs and ruptured hearts? The mountain offers no answers. Winds erase tracks, winters bury clues. Chrisen remains the only voice, his testimony the bedrock, set in the shifting sands of trauma. The survivor's tale, the state of the bodies, the scattered camp, pieces that refuse a coherent picture. This mystery reminds us of our limits. The wild does not obey our categories. Like Dyatlov, it forces humility. Atmospheric, geological, physiological, forces we don't fully grasp. So the secret rests with Lyudmila Korovina and the 5 who followed. Their story, a chilling whisper on the Siberian wind. The mystery endures. It keeps its chill.